भाग्यनगर में हूँ, हैदराबाद में हूँ।
हैदराबाद को भाग्यनगर बना करके फिर से विकास की नई बुलंदियों में पहुंचाना है।
We have decided our sankalp is to not let you make Hyderabad Istanbul. We will make Hyderabad Bhagyanagar. That is our sankalp. That is our sankalp.
I'm at Hyderabad's most iconic landmark, the place you think of the minute you think of Hyderabad. You're probably thinking of the Charminar, which is right behind me. But if the BJP has its way, they want to replace this temple, the Bhagyalakshmi Temple, as Hyderabad's iconic landmark and not the Charminar. For many, many years now, in fact, for decades now, the Charminar is almost synonymous with Hyderabad, and in fact, it features on the Telangana emblem as well. I'm sure for many years you've heard many BJP leaders call Hyderabad Bhagyanagar. In fact, they've gone on to promise that if they come to power in Telangana, they will rename Hyderabad as Bhagyanagar. There are a few historians who say that Hyderabad was probably called Bhagyanagar a few centuries ago, although they have different reasons. They have attributed to different stories. Now, the BJP story spins around this temple behind me, the Bhagyalakshmi Temple. I want to just show you, this is a very small shrine. What you see is the makeshift part of the temple. It is now being extended further because of Deepavali, but the actual shrine is a very small one. And over the last few decades, it has grown in size. Now, the Bhagyalakshmi Temple has become BJP's cornerstone for Hindutva ideology and communalizing politics here in Telangana. Because every time a BJP leader comes to Telangana, be it Prime Minister Modi or even Home Minister Amit Shah, they make sure they visit this temple. Time and again, BJP leaders here in the state also talk about how this temple has been demolished, it has been destroyed by Islamic forces. All of this narrative to make sure that they communalize and polarize the city of Hyderabad. Whether that has been successful or not, we're not going to get into it. For now, we'll stick to what the story is. The old city of Hyderabad in the past has seen many communal clashes, but at least for the last 10 years, since the formation of Telangana, there have been no major clashes in Hyderabad city. Now, BJP's bid to use Bhagyalakshmi Temple to communalize the city of Hyderabad has been criticized by other parties like the BRS and Congress, but they too somehow have gotten pulled into this entire story. We will tell you how in a while from now. But let's quickly look at the history of this temple and about BJP's claims that Bhagyalakshmi Temple existed for many centuries. We'll have to go back a little bit in history to understand how this started, what is the history of this temple, and then we'll come back to how the BJP is using it in current day politics. And to give us the background, I have with us Yunus, who is our Hyderabad bureau chief, but also our in-house historian. And Yunus has been tracking this issue very closely from before BJP made this a political issue, right?
There is actually no evidence till date to suggest that the temple has existed from, however long the BJP claims it to be.
The BJP says that the temple, the Bhagyalakshmi Temple, is as old as Charminar.
No, that is obviously not true. The Charminar is literally the first monument that was constructed in 1591 to mark the city getting founded. So this is the first ever thing that was built, and it was very specifically chosen here, not for any religious purpose, but because of water. Hyderabad was built on the southern bank of the Musi River. Right. Now, let me get to your question about the temple itself. First of all, there was no temple. The founding king, Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah, again, supposedly had a lover by the name Bhagmati. Okay. Now, it says that there was no temple. What it says is that Bhagmati apparently lived in what is close to the Charminar earlier. It says that she lived in a village called Chinchalam. Still story, right? Now, there's a smaller, more lovey-dovey angle to this is that...
But that's not what the BJP is talking about. They're only talking about the temple.
So, there are two versions of this. There is a Bhagmati and there's a Bhagyanagar.
Yes.
There is Bhagyanagar and Bhagyanagar, right? So, the Bhagyanagar is what is the actual old name.
Right.
I don't think in my understanding there's a single person who can ever say to this date. Let's get into a bit of history anyway, since we're already here. Or probably this might help a lot of people also. This, however, more importantly, is a photo of the Charminar from a book in 1944.
Right.
This is
Right,
exact
do not
Charminar,
see
the
the
temple.
Bhagyalakshmi
Yeah, so
temple.
this is the Charminar picture from 1944
Mhm.
without the actual temple, and this is from a. This is not even from. If you look at this picture here, it says Deccan Minarets, plate 5, right? So this is basically a picture from a government published book
Right.
of a lot of monuments in the state.
So when did the temple get
So
built?
what I've been told is that apparently there were 4 milestone markers called Hyderabad zero mile,
Mhm.
because this is the foundation, right?
Mhm.
The one of the milestone markers apparently became a kind of a small shrine or
Mhm.
something
And when did this happen?
she says in the 60s. She says when a worker apparently because poor workers, laborers who would apparently come from districts
Mhm.
would not be able, like if they would pass away while working, their families didn't have the money to take them back home,
Right.
so they would get buried wherever they die.
Right.
So that's what she says. She says that there was a
So
lady
this
who
started in
passed.
1960s.
She says nobody can recall exactly when, but she says somewhere around the 60s period is when apparently one lady, because she dies, her daughter turns one of the milestone markers into a small shrine.
In 2013,
Yeah.
there was a court order
Yeah.
asking for expansion of the Bhagyalakshmi temple to be
Yes.
stopped.
So that basically was a result of the temple management expanding, like
Yeah.
trying to expand, and then the MIM protested and then went to the court. The court basically said no, just as it should be. Court basically didn't say remove the temple. The court didn't say. The court just said it should not go beyond wherever it is.
Right. No
Now,
more expansion.
No more. That's it.
Right.
That is the history. The
Right.
history.
But also
yeah.
the fact remains that the temple is encroaching on this monument.
The temple is built on one of the pillars, right, of the
Right.
Charminar. Now,
Right.
for those of you who don't know, all our monuments are built with what we call limestone mortar.
Yes.
It is much stronger than cement
Right.
for as long as you take care of it, because these structures don't retain water unlike cement. So, but the problem is if you put cement on it, then it will get spoiled. So the issue here, from an archaeologist perspective, is that it is a cement structure at the corner. So inadvertently, at some point, it is going to probably damage the monument. And behind is also a dargah that is exactly on the same minaret. Basically, there's a dargah also which is again unauthorized. Both according
Both
to
Bhagyalakshmi temple and the dargah
yeah.
are unauthorized encroachments.
Exactly. And
Right.
ASI does not allow anything to be built on any monument.
Yeah.
And there's a 100-meter radius, technically speaking, in which nobody is allowed to build anything. I understand the temple is also why the UNESCO World Heritage Site eludes the Charminar because of that issue.
So if you were to go by what national news channels have been playing over the last few years, this issue of the Bhagyalakshmi temple is so important and so polarizing for the people of Hyderabad that it has changed the political landscape. But I did speak to people here, people who've been here for many decades, and some of them who started doing business here more recently. And for them, this is clearly a non-issue. Yes, they've heard of the Bhagyalakshmi temple before, but they all unanimously say that was small in size, not too many people used to come. For the last 3 to 4 years, it has started seeing more footfall. It has also started expanding a little bit more. During Deepavali, there is a makeshift structure that comes up, but that's taken down right after the festival ends. ये जो भाग्यनगर बोल रहे हैं, आपने सुना था अपने बचपन में हैदराबाद का नाम?
नहीं मैडम, कभी नहीं सुने हम ये नाम भाग्यनगर।
हाँ.
अभी सुन रहे हम ये भाग्यनगर। अदरवाइज वी डिड नॉट heard about this one before.
अच्छा.
हमको इस बारे में मालूम ही नहीं था कि भाग्यनगर इसको बोलते बोल के, क्योंकि हमेशा से इसका नाम हैदराबाद रहा।
We have a vendor with us who has seen the Charminar and the Bhagyalakshmi temple now for a few decades. आप कब से इधर है?
मैं 65 से हूँ। 65 से पहले मैं खाली यहाँ कुक्कू देखा रखे वाला, फिर बाद में छोटा पत्थर देखा, फिर बाद में ये बनते बनते मंदिर बन गया।
नहीं, पहले तो नहीं था, वो बिल्कुल एक पत्थर की तरह था वो। बाद में आहिस्ता आहिस्ता ये शक्ल में आया।
अच्छा,
हम 20-22 साल से देख रहे हैं हम।
अच्छा।
वैसे
वैसी है। पहले छोटा था फिर बड़ा हुआ है?
नहीं, छोटा बोल तो उतना है, वो दिवाली के टाइम में पूरा जमा देते हैं, बड़ा दिखता। पहले से मंदिर उतना है।
और इतना बड़ा कब हुआ?
ये बड़ा अभी होते रहा है, हल्लू।
पहले भी ऐसे ही था? 10 साल पहले इतने लोग आते थे?
उतने लोग नहीं आते थे, मगर था मंदिर पहले भी, तो लोग नहीं आते थे, थोड़े बहुत आते थे। अब जरा ज्यादा आते हैं।
अच्छा।
हफ्ता इतवार से जुम्मे के दिन ज्यादा आते हैं।
अच्छा।
फेस्टिवल रहता ना, जुम्मे को ज्यादा आते हैं।
नहीं, पहले कोई नहीं आते थे यहाँ पर।
अच्छा।
जी, अभी तकरीबन 1-2-4 साल से लोग ज्यादा आने लगे यहाँ पर, और इसका नाम ज्यादा उठने लगा। वरना यहाँ पर कोई नहीं आते थे। इवन जब छोटी सी टेम्पल थी उस वक्त भी यहाँ पर कोई नहीं आते थे।
अच्छा।
बस सुबह के टाइम एक दो जने आके जो भी है अपना वो कर लेते थे। फिर उसके बाद कभी हम कोई ज़माने तक कोई भी यहाँ पर आते हुए नहीं देखा कि बड़े पॉलिटिकल या बड़े लोग जो जैसा अब आ रहे हैं, उस वक्त तो कोई नहीं आते थे।
पिछले सालों में बोले तो अभी 5-6 साल से ज्यादा जरा लोग आ रहे हैं और दूसरा कुछ भी नहीं।
ऐसा
नहीं
नाम
पहले से बोलते हैं भाग्यनगर में है बोल के, अपने को उतना आइडिया नहीं है।
आपको नहीं
हाँ
पता? अच्छा, ये बीजेपी अभी बोल रहे हैं, पहले भाग्यनगर था.
हाँ पहले भाग्यनगर।
Interestingly, there are a few other smaller temples around the Charminar, Shiv Mandira, Mahadev Mandir as it's called, including the Bhagyalakshmi Mandir. But the syncretic culture of Hyderabad remains intact because there are Muslim vendors selling stuff right outside the temple, and there are Hindu vendors also continuing to do business right outside Charminar, and none of them seem to be bothered about this controversy that is clearly political and that is clearly made just for some news channels. So the first time BJP used this in politics was a couple of years ago in 2020 ahead of the GHMC, that is the local Hyderabad Municipal Corporation elections. That was their poll pitch and it did kind of yield results. We don't know if people voted for BJP in unprecedented numbers because of this or because of other factors, because BJP does have more appeal in urban pockets than in other areas. But the fact is that it's stuck. But why make this small shrine? It was fairly nondescript before BJP made it so important. So why did that become their poll pitch? Why did it capture their imagination and their narrative? And how in the long run will BJP look to use this is very interesting. It kind of falls in their Hindu Khatre Mein Hai narrative. We've seen them play this out in state after state. In some states, it has been fairly successful. In some other states, it's still work in progress. So this entire, entire issue of bringing out how cruel certain Muslim rulers were falls in BJP's scheme of communal politics. But in Hyderabad, how has this panned out?
This temple is in sync with the national narrative. You know, if you look at the Ram temple, right, it's like a nucleus that they can build and turn it into something more explosive. Because like you also mentioned, right, during the 2020 GHMC elections, or whoever came, you know, from the BJP when they came, whatever they said, and when Yogi Adityanath very specifically said, why can't the city be called Bhagyanagar or something to that extent, I think that really touched a nerve for a lot of people, because see, until now, people have sort of made peace with the fact that, chalo theek hai, mandir hai, chhod do.
So you're saying this demand or this
Is more recent,
idea
yeah.
is from outside.
Yeah,
It's not from
no.
Hindus
So
in Hyderabad.
There are some people from the right-wing groups who've been calling it Bhagyanagar since forever. Like they've been calling it. There are some historians who also have said that it's called Bhagyanagar. I remember reading in school that it's Bhagyanagar and it was renamed to Hyderabad until I actually sat and read the history, and then I realized, oh, that's clearly not the case.
But
The
how
name is
much has
concerned-
it caught on? I'm not talking just electorally. I'm saying have people
Socially?
started people started accepting it or talking about
Not
it?
yet, no.
Not
Not in the larger, because see, a lot Hyderabad probably is still largely socially more cohesive.
Yeah.
It's not exactly a city where people, you know, will. I think we see news these days like Muslims not being allowed into a Hindu area, like
Yeah.
Hindu shop, or like vice versa, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
Like there is dichotomy in society in the sense that
Yes.
it's largely Hindu Muslim narrative, right? Yeah, but I think to that extent, in spite of everything, nothing much has happened. I think.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they have created a narrative big enough that forces every single politician to come and pray at this temple. And BJP has centered their politics around this temple. Like now they're like, we'll come and do everything from here.
Yes.
So that has, I think, if you let this grow, it might end up big. You can see a little bit of the Ram Mandir.
Yeah. But we all know that BJP plays the long game.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't.
I'm saying
they don't. Look
exactly.
at short-term electoral gains. They look at how it can kind of change the electoral
see, right
politics.
now, nobody wants to see politically. Nobody wants to question the BJP, because the moment they do that, it becomes an anti-Hindu move, right?
Right.
BRS is more than happy to come pray or do whatever. That's fine. No one's
Yeah.
gonna have problem with the temple, right?
In the last 1 year or so, we've seen political leaders from across parties, Congress, MIM, BRS, all of them talk about Bhagyalakshmi Temple, and somehow it has become this center of all politicians coming and taking oath to either prove something or disprove something. In fact, just a few days ago, a couple of weeks ago in October, a few Congress leaders were suspended. They were not given tickets, and then they were suspended for anti-party activities. And they chose this very site in front of the Bhagyalakshmi Temple to come and protest against Revanth Reddy, who is the Congress president here in Telangana. Revanth Reddy himself came here and took an oath to prove that he had not taken a bribe of 25 crores as alleged by a BJP leader, Itala Rajendra. He in fact challenged Itala to come and also take an oath here to prove that he had taken 25 crores as bribe. Itala didn't turn up, of course. And then a few weeks before that, he had also challenged, Revanth Reddy had challenged KCR, the chief minister, his son KTR, who's also a minister, and his KCR's daughter Kavita, to all come here and take an oath in the Bhagyalakshmi Temple that they will not give money or liquor as bribes to voters ahead of the Telangana Assembly elections. Now, this is straight out of a movie. I am not making this up. But all this started post that 2020 GHMC post.
I mean,
right?
this is new.
That's new.
Yeah, that's new. So
that started happening from when?
I think post GHMC only. I remember. I believe that 2020 GHMC election is a very important landmark in this particular aspect, because now the temple has become the nucleus of the BJP's larger agenda. I think this time around, surprisingly, we've not seen it. I think, but we have time for the elections, of course, so probably we will see something. But right now, we've still not seen anything major happening. But I'm assuming let's give some time. Yogi ji or somebody will come and say something and go.
But the fact that other parties have already taken Bhagyalakshmi, accepted it, the Bhagyalakshmi Temple itself, I think, in one sense, shows the success of BJP's narrative capabilities. Yeah.
In fact, I believe BJP's Bandi Sanjay pushed it quite a bit, and I think Bandi Sanjay started his Padayatra from here. So that I think also very important to understand what way they're going.
Whether Hyderabad will ever be renamed as Bhagyanagar, we don't know, we can't tell you. But this issue of Bhagyalakshmi Temple is clearly here to stay, even though BJP has not been using that rhetoric so far ahead of the assembly elections. But every tourist who comes to Hyderabad will visit the Charminar. And when you visit the Charminar, it is impossible to miss the structure of Bhagyalakshmi Temple, which is becoming more and more prominent. So the word will spread. The BJP, of course, has ensured that everybody takes the bait. Every single party is talking about Bhagyalakshmi Temple in some form or the other. Thank you for watching this episode. We'll come back to you with more issues, more controversies that people here in Hyderabad are talking about. And if you like our reporting, if you like our coverage, and if you like what we do, then do support us, because we can cover such issues that take a lot of time, resources, money, only because of our subscribers. And if you want us to continue doing more such work, become a subscriber of the News Minute. But most importantly, today, make sure you contribute to News Laundry and the News Minute Joint Election Fund. We have presence across the 5 election-bound states, that is Mizoram, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and of course Telangana. And we are the only people, the only set of journalists who are bringing you unbiased, unsponsored reportage across the 5 states. Thank you for watching.
News Laundry, the News Minute.
News Laundry,
The News Minute, News Laundry and The News Minute
are coming together.
साथ आ रहे हैं. 5 states, 2 independent media organizations and 1 team.
So log on to newslaundry.com,
contribute to the News Minute and News Laundry Election Fund,
Joint Election Fund,
TNM, NL,
Joint Election Fund.
तो हमारा सहयोग करें.
Contribute now.
because we are stronger together.
क्योंकि साथ साथ मिलकर ही हम सब मजबूत होंगे.
क्योंकि सागे आपा मजबूत रेसा.
కలిసి ఉంటేనే బలంగా ఉంటాం.
We're stronger together.
And we're even stronger with you.